This is a detailed video on using annotations, and I'm going to go through each of the different types of annotation in turn and talk about them in a bit of detail. Remember, annotations are done from full screen mode, so let's just go up and go into full screen mode. And you bring up the annotation toolbar by clicking in the middle of the page. So the middle of this page is here, so I'll just click on there, and here we have the annotation toolbar. Let's run through the various things on the toolbar here. Save, for saving your annotations. Cancel cancels any changes you've made to the annotation since the last time you saved it. Remove all will remove all the annotations and return the annotations to a blank page. Zoom allows you to zoom in on the detail of the screen, so if you have some fine annotation you want to do, you can zoom in on part of the screen. The on-screen keyboard is useful if using a touch-based system, for instance a tablet PC or one of our Music One systems, and clicking on there or tapping on there will bring up the on-screen keyboard. The select icon is to select an annotation, so you can then change its properties or delete it or move it or resize it. The cross deletes the selected annotation. These annotations are highlights. This is a text box. This is a sticky note. These are various lines and arrows. This is shapes like rectangles, circles, ellipses, filled and outline. These are galleries of musical shapes, chord sheets, and musical notes and notation that can be added. This allows you to put a picture, embed a picture into your annotation. The eraser allows you to give the appearance of erasing part of the music, but remember, annotations don't change the original, they only overlay the original. And the last one is a web link. So let's go through each one in turn and let's see how we'd use them. The highlighter, the option is to do a rectangular highlight, so you draw across an area like that, or you can do a freehand highlight, so you can just paint a particular thing you want. Selecting a highlight, and you bring up the properties of the highlight, and the main thing is to be able to change the colour. So this one I'm going to change to a blue, and that's the current colour for now for highlighting. So if I do any subsequent highlighting, it will be in that colour. Let's just move on now to the text box. Clicking on there is to bring up a text box, which if we double click in it, we can start typing. So let's just put in a wee note in there. This is to be done for next week. Again, if we select the text box, we can change the text colour, and we can change the background. And we can also change the transparency of it. We can change the font and we can change the size. Transparency is interesting. That means that if we take the transparency down and move it over the top, you can see that you can see through. So annotations don't have to be solid. They can have a level of transparency, which is set by this slider here. Let's take that down then so it's fairly transparent and it sits over there. Sticky notes. Sticky notes are like the pads of paper you buy with the glue on them, and you can stick them onto documents. So I've chosen sticky note, and let's just put a sticky up here, and we type into that. Okay, oops. Right. The one thing about sticky notes is that they can't be transparent. By definition, if you put a sticky over the top of something, you can't see through it. If you want to have it transparent, you use the text. That font's a bit big, so let's select that. So let's go down to something like 10 point, and let's change it to a different font. Let's change it to Courier. So you can resize the sticky, simply grab one of the handles on it, and you can move it around the screen and position it wherever you want. Next we have the lines. So if we come along to here, we've got straight lines, connected lines, we've got freehand drawing, and we have arrows. Let's just have a look at the arrow one. If I want to point to something, I can draw an arrow. I can then select the arrow, and I can move it around. I can rotate it by going there and just saying, yep, I want to rotate that. So I can rotate the arrow around to point to whatever I want. I can change the colour, I can change its width, and again, I can change the transparency, and I can change it from a small arrowhead to a large arrowhead, and I can even go and change the properties of the arrowhead. Next we have the shapes. These are transparent rectangles, ellipses, or rounded rectangles, or filled rectangles, ellipses and rounded rectangles. Let's just choose an ellipse, and I'm going to draw an ellipse around here. Again, if we select that, we can change the properties of it, so we can change the colour of it. I'll make that green, so we get a green ellipse there. And it's not filled because I didn't choose the filled option. If I'd chosen the filled option here, then that would have been a solid ellipse, and I could again change the transparency of it as one of the properties. The next set of annotations is a very useful set of annotations. These are galleries of shapes. Now I'll come back to chord charts when I look at one of the chord sheets, but for the moment I'm going to click on the musical symbols gallery. When I do that, I get up on screen a gallery of lots of different musical shapes and symbols and notation, and I can add these in. So for instance, if I want to put in that symbol, I simply position my cursor and I draw the shape out on here. So all of these shapes can be positioned on screen, they can be resized, and if you're wanting to change notes and so on, you can zoom in. I'll show you how to zoom in to get more detail. So these are the musical annotation shapes that are available in the gallery. This allows us to embed an image. Now the galleries are simply images which are preset within Power Music, but we can also put in a picture of anything we want into the annotation. So I'm going to select this, and we'll browse to the picture, and the picture I've got here, I've somewhere got a picture of Mozart, there he is there. So I'll select that, and I can now just draw out the picture there. So I can add a picture to the annotation for this piece of music. Of course, it could be some other musical symbol, for instance, which is not in the gallery. You simply save these musical symbol shapes into your pictures, then browse to them, and you can add them to the annotation. The rubber tool, or the eraser tool, as I said, gives the illusion of deleting information. So if we pick on the medium eraser here and I move over the top of something, I can make something disappear. Now it's not really disappeared. What it's done is it's put a white overlay on it, and I can undo that by clicking on select, choosing the delete, and then getting rid of it, and it comes back. But if you wanted to remove things from your music, you can use the eraser tool to do that. Web links. This allows you to put a web link into your annotation. Now you might think, why do you want a web link? But I'm going to show you a wee example of what we could do. I've chosen web link, and I'm just going to draw out the link here. Now the default link is for the Cambron website, but if we select the link, we get here a text box where we can put in the text for the link and the actual link that's pointing to. And that could point to literally anything. It could point to a website, it could point to a file, or it could point to a piece of music or whatever. So I'm going to change this to a YouTube video. And I happen to have a YouTube video sitting, just waiting to come up here. So if I bring up my bar up here and bring up my Explorer, here's my YouTube video. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the link here from my YouTube video. So I'll copy that and go back to Power Music. And in the properties here for my link, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to delete the default web link, and I'll paste in the YouTube link. Now, what happens now is if I was to come out of the annotation editor and have this music on screen, if I clicked on that link, it would launch that particular web page as a part of the annotation. Okay, at this point, I'm just going to stop and save my annotation. Okay, that's my annotation saved. I'll come out of the full screen mode. Okay, and here we have the preview of the annotations. Remember, annotations are only previewed for sheet music. You don't get the preview for chord sheets. I'll come to that in a few minutes. Okay, so let's go back into our full screen. And there's all our annotation there. And let's just actually see what happens if I click on this link. It launches the YouTube website and starts playing the video. Okay, that's fine. And we can close the Explorer down, and it takes us back to where we are. Okay, let's finally just look at the last things in the annotation toolbar. We said that we can save. Cancel does away with any changes we've made since the last time we saved it. Remove all will remove all of the annotations. Zoom, I'll just have a quick look at. We can zoom in and look at fine details. So if we click on 150%, we can see now we can move things around. So for instance, if we wanted to position this more carefully, we can move things around there, and we can scroll around and move things at will when we're in the zoomed in area. Clicking on there, bring it back to fit to viewer, and we see it back to normal size. Lastly, I said there's a keyboard. Click on there and it brings up the on-screen keyboard, which is very useful if you're using a touch screen, because you can bring up the keyboard and type in your annotations or whatever it is you want to put in. Remove all, finish off with that one. Click on there. This will remove all the annotations from the page. OK. And if we now save it, it gives us a wee warning to say that there's no annotations in the page. OK. And now the document is returned exactly to its original form. Let's have a look at annotating a chord sheet. Let's take one here. One of the nice things you can do to this is you can add the chord charts into this to help you when you're playing. So let's go full screen. You'll notice that I've been playing around with this before, so let's just bring up the annotation, and I'll select that and I'll get rid of it. What I want to do here is to put up some of the chord charts. So the first chord here is F, so we go to the gallery. Okay. And then we'll find shape for F. There it is there. And I'll just draw up the first chord chart there. Next one's A7. So if I go to A7, select it and draw up alongside it. Now we don't have to position them exactly at the moment. We can move them around and get them all lined up later. And next one's B flat. And then back to F. We've already got F there, so we'll just stop at that point. So we'll close this down, and then we'll go to select, and we'll just move these around and get them into position where we want them. And we can change their size, we can make them bigger or smaller, and so on. All of the other things I said about annotation of sheet music apply to chord sheets, and you've got this nice feature as well of being able to add in the shapes of the chords on here.